It is now 12 hours 11 in Ghana with your news at this time. I'm Kevin Smith. On Friday, High Court Judge Narishwar Harnanan ruled that Ghana's Environmental Protection Agency breached the law to issue a permit to Schlumberger Ghana Inc. to construct a radioactive storage facility at Lot 1, Area X, Houston, East Bank Demerara, without conducting an environmental impact assessment first. On February 14th, three environmental activists and residents who live nearby the facility, Vanda Radzik, Danuta Radzik, and Rafael Singh, filed a lawsuit at the Demerara High Court against the EPA, the Environmental Assessment Board, and Schlumberger. The residents won their case last Friday when the judge handed down its ruling in the case, not only quashing the EPA's decision to grant permission to the U.S.-owned company to construct and operate a facility, but also halting the works at the radioactive storage facility. Justice Harnanan declared that the EPA's decision to not conduct an assessment into the effects of the construction of the facility was illegal, ultra vires, unreasonable, and irrational since it breached the Environmental Protection Act. And moving on, with Vice President Bharat Jagdeo throwing his support behind ExxonMobil's claim that Guyana was getting 52% profit from the oil resources in the Stabroek Block, Kaieteur news publisher Glenn Lal said this assertion could not be further from the truth. He said that as head of the petroleum sector, Jagdeo should do more to monitor the expenses of ExxonMobil, which the company recoups based on the lopsided production sharing agreement. The issue came to the fore some 2 Fridays ago at a news conference hosted by Jagdeo after he was asked to weigh in on the issue with reference to billboards erected by ExxonMobil advancing the 52% profit claim. And veteran petroleum engineer and former head of the Environmental Protection Agency, Dr. Vincent Adams, has called out the government of Guyana for exhibiting signs of a power-drunk administration now backed by oil revenue. Adams has argued that the government has failed to adequately protect citizens and the oil sector, but is nonchalantly allowing the oil companies to break the laws and disregard standards customary to oil operations. Adams said that the government is being emboldened by the increased revenue from the oil resource and has already started to treat citizens poorly. The AFC had pointed to actions committed by the government that they believe are infringing on the democratic fabric of the country. Adams explained that there are a number of issues currently affecting the oil sector. He said, to date, workers on the oil ships are still treated like second-class citizens by being paid less and treated as less. He said that even the insurance companies are now complaining as evidence relating to how Exxon and partners are trying to cheat the sector out of millions of US dollars starting to surface. Adams continued that local companies are not given the same treatment as Exxon, which already enjoys an excessively friendly production sharing agreement with the country. And moving on, PNCR executive Mervyn Williams and parliamentarian Don Hastings Williams are being seriously considered for the post of General Secretary for the PNCR following the resignation of Geeta Chandin Edmund. Well-placed sources said that the two candidates are highly respected within the party, and the leader of the opposition, Aubrey Norton, will make a decision shortly. And moving on, a family of 5, including 3 children, along with approximately 4 other homes, were damaged by heavy winds that swept through Region 5, Number 9 Village, West Coast Berbice over the weekend. 27-year-old Angelica Laltu said her entire roof was blown away by the gusty winds sometime around 6 hours yesterday morning. Electrical wires that were connected to the home were also destroyed. Accompanying the heavy winds was the rain, which soaked all her furniture and appliances. Meanwhile, Member of Parliament Fizal Jafar Ali said that materials was donated to Laltu to have her roof fixed. He confirmed that at least 5 homes were affected, but Laltu's home endured extensive damage. Persons willing to assist Laltu can make contact with her on cell phone number 672-3551. And just before we head to a break, residents of Smith Creek Region 1 are set to benefit from 10 wooden elevated houses to be built under the Hinterland Housing Program of the Central Housing and Planning Authority. Housing and Water Minister Colin Crowell signing contracts to build houses at Smith Creek Region 1. At a simple signing ceremony which took place on the sidelines of a community outreach spearheaded by Housing and Water Minister Colin Crowell at the Mabaruma Learning and Resource Centre, some $13 million in contracts were signed. The time is now 12 hours 17 in Ghana. We'll return shortly after the break.
Right now, children are at an increased risk of sexual abuse, and the perpetrator can be nearer than you think. So stay alert and be aware. Be aware of your neighbors. Be aware of your friends. Be aware of the people you have in your home. Do not become complacent. Protect children now. You can make a report to the police or call the CPA hotline on 227-0979.
A message from the Child Care and Protection Agency, Ministry of Human Services and Social Security, and UNICEF.
Welcome back. Despite increasing global efforts to combat corruption, lawful but unlawful practices which push the limits of anti-corruption legislation by staying just within the laws or by exploiting loopholes and disparities between jurisdictions remain stubbornly present. Professor Nikos Passes, Professor of Criminology and Criminal Justice at Northeastern University, highlighted this as a key issue for anti-corruption, anti-money laundering compliance, and cybercrime professionals during his keynote address at the Caribbean Development Bank's 2022 Caribbean Conference on Corruption, Compliance, and Cybercrime last week. He highlighted the financial incentive for companies to do such, noting that the costs of mitigating against or preventing certain bad practices can be significantly higher in jurisdictions with tighter regulatory and legislative frameworks, and that the rewards reaped can be huge. In other news, restoration work to the quote-unquote iconic City Hall building is on track for its 2023 completion, so said Minister of Local Government and Regional Development Nigel Dharamlal. The $780 million contract was signed on September 24, 2021 with Fides Guyana Incorporated. Minister Dharamlal explained Friday that as the work progresses, extensive damage to structural components of the building is being uncovered by the contractors, making the works intricate and tedious. Meanwhile, the government is progressively working to address the concerns of all categories of workers, and teachers will soon receive salary increases, President Ali said on Wednesday. He emphasized that while Guyana understands the importance of wage adjustments, the all-embracing well-being support by the administration is more than just finance. And with that, we've come to the end of today's News at Noon. I'm Kevin Smith. Thank you for listening. Coming up next is the National Outlook with GHK Lal.